After the numerous Achilles tendon injuries this postseason, how will the Eastern Conference shake up in 2025? What's up, everyone? This is Logan Landers and Jay McLovin with the Elite Sports and Entertainment Network talking to you here today about the Eastern Conference in the NBA and the just vast amount of Achilles tendon injuries that we've had this season in the postseason. Jay, we've had Damian Lillard, we had Jason Tatum, and the most recent victim is Tyrese Halliburton. Jay, all wear number 0, all play in the Eastern Conference. How's this going to affect the league?
Yeah, I think the first thing, if I'm any NBA player in the league and I had the 0 on my chest, the first thing I'm probably going to do is I'm going to go to the trainer and I'm going to get rid of that damn jersey as fast as humanly possible. And I'm going to go find me a different number, 7, 77, 777. I don't know, anything that has positive connotations to it, right? So, yeah, I think that's probably the first. And again, because I'm a very superstitious guy. And when you said, when everybody who's had their Achilles torn is wearing 0, the first thing I'm doing is, that ain't gonna be me. Let me go ahead and get out this dang number, and I'm gonna go get me a new number. That would be my first. That would be my first thought process. See, the second thing is, it's interesting to me now when you look at the top 5 teams of last year, or I should say this past season, and what it's going to look like, that top 5 going in to next season, it's definitely going to be different. I would say probably the one team maybe that could stay at 4 would be the Pacers. I think the Pacers still have a good enough lineup to stay at 4. If I had to look at my top 5, I would probably put it as Cleveland, because I still feel like Cleveland was a little soft last year, but I always say playoff experience does a vast of wonders for you. And I still feel like talent-wise and what they were accomplished last year with their record, that really is the team to beat now is Cleveland. The second team I got is Detroit. And the reason why I'm putting Detroit over New York is we all know when you watch the playoffs that there was 2 games in that series that really should have been Detroit's way. And I think the referees got some calls wrong that forced it to go the way it went. So I really do feel like Detroit is the better team right now. I know a lot of people are going to say New York because of Brunson, this, that, and the other, but I don't see it that way. I see Detroit as that really true better team. So I'm putting my Detroit at number 2. I got the Knicks at number 3. And then I got the Pacers at 4. And then you can pretty much put anybody you want to put as 5 or less, right? Maybe the Celtics can retain at number 5. Maybe another team slides up, whether it be Miami or what have you. It will take that number 5. But I guarantee you, I really believe those are the 4 best teams in that specific order. I think that the Celtics would drop back around 6 or 7 because they lost Tatum. They just traded Drew Holiday. Yes, they brought in a guy that can get you 19 points. But I don't know if he's going to be the guy that keeps them at that number 1 spot. So that's why I feel like, and I don't even know if all of the roster reconstruction is done in Boston. I would not be surprised if some other things come to fruition in Boston. And because there's a lot of uncertainty in my mind around Boston, I have to slide them down to at least 6 or 7. And the same thing goes with Milwaukee. I don't know that Giannis is going to stay in Milwaukee. He possibly could leave Milwaukee. We definitely know Lillard won't be back. He doesn't have a Robin to the Batman. So I do think he steps back. And maybe Milwaukee slides in at that number 5 spot. I think that's probably the more likely thing that would happen is that Milwaukee would slide in at 5. If Giannis stays. If Giannis stays, I put Milwaukee at 5. So my 5 would be then Cleveland, Detroit, New York, Indiana, and Milwaukee would be at my 5th spot. And then I think that the Celtics and everybody else kind of falls down around 6, 7, 8, 9, whatever. And so that's just how I see the restructuring of the East going into the East playoffs going into next season. And that's just based off of the current health and conditioning of each team and where they currently stand health-wise.
So I just want to preface this is being filmed before the 2025 NBA draft. So any moves that are made, any trades that happen, any players that are picked, we don't know who they're going to be, Jay. So that's going to be interesting to see how that shapes up Eastern Conference. Just kind of looking at these teams here that you mentioned, I agree. I think Cleveland will still remain the number one seed going into next year. They have a super young, talented core. They couldn't get it done in the playoffs for one reason or another. I think they're going to retool this offseason. They're going to look, even stronger with that great offensive and defensive system they built over there. Boston, they are going to slide. Like you said, I like the pickup of Anthony Simons from Portland, a really good younger player. Jaylen Brown, we know, is a good two-way player. They have Derek White, who's a great bench piece, and he can start as well if you need him to. I mean, they have a good team overall, but Tatum being out for the year really hurts that team, Jay, because that's someone who's going to get you at least 25 points, if not more, per game. And it's always, he's got clutch genes, as we know. So it's someone who you're really going to hurt next year. I think they'll slide maybe out of the top 5. They might go 4 and hang on, but I think it's not going to be nearly as dominant as we've seen. New York, they don't have a head coach at this time. So I do think they're still going to be a top 5 team just based off talent and roster alone. The starters are going to be just happy as can be for whoever the new head coach is so they can actually get a break and they can rest on the bench. And maybe, Jay, if that was the strategy this past year, maybe it would have been them in the finals and not the Pacers. But that's only something you can simulate in a video game because it didn't happen in real life. Now, for the Pacers, Jay, I'm torn with this one because I thought that with the Pacers, and Indiana is a really good ball club, right? If they are a solid team unit, right? Pascal Siakam stepped up big in the finals. Guys like Obi Toppin and TJ McConnell, of course, is I will say Miles Turner is always going to have question marks because you always hear trade rumors about him. And after his finals performance, which I thought was kind of lackluster, he might be on the chopping block, Jay. You never know. But I still think Indiana is good enough to where they're at and who they're going to pick up in the offseason because if they are serious, Jay, because you never kind of know with smaller market teams if they are going to kind of take that next big step and pay the free agent or make the aggressive move at the draft or whatever, or make a trade with another team to pick up another young player. But it is going to hurt Halliburton not being there. But I still think that Indiana will hang on to that top 5 spot. But you mentioned Detroit, a young team who improved a hell of a lot over last year. They're only going to get better, I think. So I will have Detroit in my top 5 as well. And then, some of the other teams that, didn't quite make it, but might have, maybe that fringe potential, we'll say. We know that Philadelphia was not healthy at all this year. Embiid was hurt. Their rookie, Jared McCain, was hurt. So that could be a team that makes a turnaround. And we've seen, in recent years, I know this past year, not obviously so, but, Philadelphia has always been a good competitor, top 5 team for the most part in the last 5, 6, 7 years or whatnot. But, if they pick up some good pieces and if everyone's healthy, they could maybe make that run. I don't think Atlanta's going to get there quite yet. Miami, I don't think so either. They didn't look great after Jimmy Butler got traded, so I don't think they're going to make that top 5 rotation. Charlotte, Washington, and Brooklyn, same, I guess, Chicago too. I mean, it's a good dream, but it's not going to happen. I don't think so. Orlando is iffy because they were the 7th seed this year, Jay, and they had some good moments. I like Paolo Banchero. He's a great young player, but they made the trade with Memphis to get Desmond Bane. That's who they just got. Yeah. So they're hoping that could help them get into the playoffs. And, we'll see how it works. But Orlando, I'll even put them maybe on the fringe, Jay. I'm not having them completely out of it at this moment, just based off the other injuries at this time. But I think Milwaukee, they're going to – they might get in there too. But I definitely think that, the Eastern Conference is going to look a lot different this year than it did this past season. You're not going to see kind of, we saw the runaway in the Western Conference for the most part, but I mean, the Eastern Conference is pretty loaded, right, in the top 5 in terms of the records and whatnot. But it's going to be interesting to see, Jay. That's our thoughts on it, how we think the NBA Eastern Conference is going to go in 2025 after this finals are finally over and before we get to the draft. So, guys, please drop a comment. If you're watching before the draft, let us know what your team will pick up, what your team trade away your pick. We're going to see we're going to be watching to see the draft and what all happens and all the great moves. But just let us know in the comments, how's your top 5 going to look in the Eastern Conference this upcoming year?